Good morning, everyone. Pastor Mike, and it is the first Sunday of Advent, and it is the Christmas season. Whether you are ready or not, whether you can believe it or not, we are moving toward Christmas, and we are not ready. I'm not ready. And the title of my message, if it had any kind of a title, is This Place is a Mess. And we all can relate to that. As we're getting ready to move into Christmas, maybe you feel like this place is a mess. It's not ready. We're not ready for company or for whatever's going to happen. I hope you can have company this Christmas. I hope you got to have a Thanksgiving with some loved ones, with some friends, in spite of all the regulations and concerns and recommendations about celebrating alone and hiding from everybody. No, we don't want to do that. So our kids came from Lamar's, Iowa, and our son came from Omaha. We had a great Thanksgiving together, but what a mess. The kids leave, the grandkids go home, our son left, and Kathy, Joe, and I started picking up this morning, doing laundry, washing sheets and towels, vacuuming floors, picking up after grandkids. You cannot imagine how many Hot Wheel and Matchbox cars I picked up from all over the floor. Upstairs, downstairs, because our grandson Eli loves those cars. And our sons, David and Nate, had a lot of those left over, and so we have a huge tub of those. And every time Eli comes, he wants to get out the cars and line them up or play with them, but they get strewn all over the house. And then, of course, there's Zoe, who is almost 2 years old. She'll be 2 this month, right before Christmas. And she gets out the dollies and gets out the toys, and there's stuff everywhere. And then they're chasing the cat all over the place. So the cat's hiding underneath the tree, which we already have up. And the kids are crawling under the tree, which means there are needles everywhere. It's not a real tree, it's a fake tree. Hey, fake trees drop needles, just like real ones. So Grandpa's vacuuming and cleaning, and Grandma's doing the same thing after the kids leave. But you feel like it's a mess, and you feel like you're not ready for company, or maybe you're ready for company to leave and go home. We certainly didn't want to see the kids leave, but man, it does quiet down after they leave. The cat is resting. She slept all day because she's not on high alert anymore, watching out for 2 grandkids who might pull her tail or scream in her face or bop her on the head with a baton, which Zoe did while she was here. It's a mess. But that's really not the biggest mess we have to concern ourselves with, not the mess in the house or the mess of trying to unravel the lights and either hang them on the tree or hang them outside. We did some of that this year too. It's the mess inside, isn't it? It's the mess in here that I have to work on, that I have to be concerned about. And it's the mess in here that's really what Christmas is all about. And there are 2 scriptures I want to share with you this morning. And one is from Isaiah, and these are both Advent texts. They are texts, scriptures that we read during the Advent season. And they remind us to get ready, because they remind us we're not ready. We're a mess. And there's a mess that needs to be cleaned up. But the reality is, I can only do so much. You can only do so much about the mess in here. Now, we have to work on it. We have to be willing. We have to say yes to God and cooperate when God wants to help us clean things up. But it's not something we can do on our own. Isaiah talks about that in Isaiah chapter 64, and these will be linked for you on our Facebook page. Let me read a couple of these verses. Isaiah 64, I want to read verses 4 through 6. From ages past, no one has heard, no ear has perceived, no eye has seen any God beside you, who works for those who wait for him. You meet those who gladly do right, those who remember you in your ways. But you were angry, and we sinned. And then he says in verse 6, something familiar. We've all heard this verse. We have all become like one who is unclean, and all of our righteous deeds are like filthy rags. We all fade like a leaf, and we blow away in the wind, in the storm, because we're like vapors. There's just nothing really to us. And then we go and we read in Mark's Gospel. This first Sunday of Advent is kind of a day of preparing, of acknowledging the mess. The mess, not just around the house and the clutter, and not just the mess in here, but now we're talking about the mess we've created in our world. The world is a mess. And 2020 is perhaps one of the best illustrations or examples of what a mess the world is in. But Jesus says this as he tells his disciples how to prepare for this mess. He says, "Then they will see the Son of Man coming in clouds with great power and glory." I'm reading in Mark chapter 13, starting at verse 26. "Then he will send out the angels and gather his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of the heaven." He says, "From the fig tree learn its lesson. As soon as its branch becomes tender and puts forth its leaves, you know that summer is near." Jesus is talking about watching for signs. What are the signs we see that the world is a mess? But what are the signs we see that God is doing something? He says, "So also when you see these things taking place, you know that he is near at the very gates. Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place." And when Jesus says this generation, he means this human race. This world will not pass away until you see these things take place. "Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away." And then he continues, "But about that day or hour, no one knows, neither the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Beware, keep alert, for you do not know when the time will come. It is like a man going on a journey, when he leaves home and puts his slaves in charge, each with his work, and commands the doorkeeper to be on watch. Therefore keep awake, for you do not know when the master of the house will come, in the evening, or at midnight, or at cockcrow, or at dawn, or else he may find you asleep when he comes suddenly. And I say to you what I say to all: keep awake." Jesus says, stay ready. You don't know when the time is coming. So what does he mean by stay ready? Well, he says, acknowledge the mess. Admit that there's problems. Admit that you've got stuff you need to deal with. You've got things in your own life that you've got to work on. And then admit that the world's a mess and that you can't fix it. Now, yes, we have to be proactive. We have to do something. Kathy and I were talking today about the reality that one of the things that's going to happen because of the COVID virus, and this is experts saying this, is that millions of people around the world, maybe over 100 million people around the world, are going to starve to death. Do we have to let that happen? Or is there something we can do? We were talking about that and we said, we feed people here in Windham once a month, but what about the people around the world? We can do something about that if we want to. We can make a difference. We can keep some of those people from starving. We just got done stuffing ourselves for 2 or 3 days while our kids were here for Thanksgiving. We have plenty of food. How do we get that food to someplace where it matters? How do we make a difference in someone's life? How do we stop something terrible from happening? How do we clean up this mess? Because the world is a mess. Jesus says, keep awake, stay alert, watch. Don't fall asleep. Don't focus on things that don't matter. Jesus is saying, now's the time to really be alert, to be on guard, to watch for what God is doing, to be ready for the Master to come back at any moment, to be ready for Jesus to do something in the world. But are you cooperating with him? Are you focused on what he's focused on? Are you doing the things that he's calling you to do? I did say the other day that I wanted to talk some more about Thanksgiving, and I do want to say some more about that sometime in the near future, but I will just remind us of this, and it ties in today. Thanksgiving, as I said the other day, partly begins with worship, and worship begins also with our work. We worship God by the work that we do and how we do the work that we do. So how are you doing your work each day? Are you doing it as unto the Lord? Are you doing your job, or are you living in your relationships in such a way that you're honoring God? In such a way that your relationships and how you treat others is blessing them and making a difference? We can do this. We can make a difference in our world. We can do something about 100 million people who might starve to death because of this COVID pandemic, killing many more people than the virus itself will. If we can figure out a way, if we can find a way to sponsor, to send some money, to figure out how to get some food somewhere in the world, we can make a difference. And then meanwhile, what about us? Am I living in such a way that my life reflects the light of Christ? We talk about light at Christmas. We light candles on Christmas Eve. Is my life shining that light? Is how I'm living? Am I keeping awake? Is my candle, is my lamp lit? Jesus tells a story of the 10 maidens who are waiting, and yet some of them don't have enough oil in their lamps to keep their lamps lit. Do I have enough oil in my lamp? Or am I like those people in Isaiah who are not paying attention? The people in Isaiah who are doing evil and ignoring the voice of the Lord. And even their good deeds are worthless because they're only done for themselves. Their good deeds aren't done for a higher purpose or to serve God's higher plans and purposes. God is calling us to be ready for Christmas to come, and for Christmas to change our lives once again this year, for this season of Christmas and Advent worship to change us, to help us focus, and to help our lives align with God's plans and align with God's purposes, align with the coming of Jesus into the world at Christmas, so that Christmas can change the rest of the year. So that what happens to you during this season, as you remember, as you focus, as you start cleaning up your own personal messes, that you can start being a blessing to others. Our kids have gone home, the house is quiet, but we've got to start getting ready for the next thing. And that is, we've got to start getting ready for Jesus to come. Kathy and I both also mentioned this morning that with the grandkids here, they get up early, especially Eli gets up like at 6 a.m. And then from there on, it's just full bore the rest of the day. It was hard for us. We didn't even have time to have a quiet time the last couple of days. It feels good to have that time with God in the morning. I hope you're doing that too. Listening, preparing, waiting, and then asking God, how can I walk with you today? What is it you want me to do? Where is it you want me to serve? How is it I need to listen and be ready? Keep awake, keep alert, get ready for Christmas. It is coming. It will come. The question is, will my heart be receptive? Will my arms be open? Will I be ready to receive the gift God has for me that can change everything? I hope you're getting ready. Now that we've passed Thanksgiving, it is officially time for us to move into the Christmas season. Listen to the songs that are listed here as well on the Facebook page, and worship the Lord this morning. Take some time to prepare yourself for what God wants to say to you. I'm Pastor Mike. I look forward to seeing you again as we go through these weeks of Advent together. Goodbye.